Absolutely. So my presentation tomorrow will look at the situation on how to communicate as a private organization to public organizations. So that's really the focus of the presentation. And the illustration I'm taking is a case I'm working on right now, which is Europarea. Europarea is a platform for hospitality to accommodate national Olympic committees during the Olympic Games in the Olympic City. The idea being that national Olympic committees need to host their VIPs, media, athletes, and the public at large during the Games and have a hospitality project principle on what they can do. And to facilitate that, we are setting up this infrastructure. The challenge is that most of the countries do not have the funds to do it on their own. It's a pretty costly initiative. So our proposition is to have one platform where each of the national Olympic committees has their own house, but they share the infrastructure. Advantages being less cost because shared infrastructure, increased marketing opportunities because there are people from different countries, more people coming than just the nationals, and finally for the athletes, you have much greater celebrations because you have more athletes that can be celebrated. We are aiming at this stage at the European, that is out of a potential of 47 countries. The advantage of the National Olympic Committees is that they are structured in a very matrix organization. There's the International Olympic Committee that heads it, and then you have the National Olympic Committee in each of the countries. However, the stakeholders around this, which is national governments, national sports ministries, sponsors, private sector sponsors, public sector sponsors, and the entire decision-making process for each National Olympic Committee is very different. Smaller countries have much easier decision-making processes. Larger countries have more stakeholders and much bigger challenge. The three benefits really are shared cost, so lower cost, increased marketing exposure, so if you have any sponsors, they are more visible, and thirdly, the athletes who can be celebrated. My experience at GALLUP has provided me a lot of opportunity to talk to public sector individuals and organizations. And that experience is definitely worth it because public sector wants to have the same face. They do not like changing faces. They need long-term relationship because they are in there. Once they support you, they want to go for the long run. They are not interested in just single causes, because once they commit an organization or an institution, it is for a just cause, so a long run. And thirdly, you have to be entirely transparent on the cost, on how it is set up, and who are the stakeholders, because there is no other way. Luxembourg has grown significantly in the last 20 years, the population. When I left Luxembourg 15 years ago, there was about 350,000 inhabitants. Luxembourg today has over 500,000. So the main challenge is really the integration of people from abroad. One of the big advantages, and that is probably the biggest challenge in larger countries, is that all of these individuals are very active. Unemployment rate is very low. That obviously integrates people much easily into the infrastructure. Second element is education. The Luxembourgish school system trains and educates its students in 3 languages from the very first years on. So you have French, German, and you have Luxembourgish. So that is definitely one element which helps integration, but it is a huge challenge for people coming from abroad. I think one of the preoccupations which I see as a major trend today is to make sure that you are not visible. Obligation and need and the positive side of social media, of transparency, of your knowledge, makes that it is so open that you have to make sure that a certain number of things remain as a private element. And I think that is really the big challenge for communicators, is to make sure that the things which you really do not want to be discussed in the public debate, like what silly things the children of your CEO have done, or this kind of elements, or the private residence or vacation, this kind of elements. Anybody can take out a camera and take a picture of your CEO at any bar when he's on holiday, and it can put you into a very complex situation. So I think that is really the privacy issue is probably what is becoming the greatest challenge. I think that what has changed most in communications now is the speed. is the transparency, and we're able to just communicate from bottom down when we wanted to communicate. Now you have to be permanently in tune with your stakeholders, with your internal stakeholders, external stakeholders. It just never stops, and I think that is the biggest change. For me, communications is passion.
Right now, what would the key be?
That is a very challenging question, because I do not wish it a good preparation for the next year's round, that it really becomes one of the central forums in Europe about communications.